My name's Prakriti. I write for the music section for Mumbai Mirror Digital. And finally be talking to you about Mama's Boy.
Yes, ma'am. Let's do it.
I hope quarantine's treating you, your bandmates, and the entire management well.
Thank you. You too.
I mean, considering that for LANY, which played at least like 120 shows in 2019 alone, it must have been a little difficult to adapt to the situation.
Yeah, it's been challenging and slightly disappointing and very frustrating. I don't really know what else to say about that. We love to play shows. There was talks about coming to India and playing some shows, and it's just I guess life has been put on pause to a certain degree, and just ready to get back out there.
Yeah, but hopefully the situation will smoothen out soon and you'll be back on the road doing what you do best, and that's performing on stage. I mean, moving on to Mama's Boy, just a little bit over a week left for its release. How are you feeling? Some nerves, excitement?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on it for now almost a year, and I still listen to it every single day. I'm very proud of it. The Boys and I, it's our favorite album we've ever made. And yeah, it's just, it's a great feeling having something up your sleeve that you're really proud of, but there's no better feeling than finally, revealing what you got and giving it to the world. So.
And could you take us through the entire creative process of producing this album?
Sure, we can definitely try. So right after we finished tour, we went to Nashville in September of 2019, and we spent 2 weeks there writing. And in those 2 weeks, we wrote "If This Is the Last Time," "Good Guys," "I Still Talk to Jesus," "Sad," "When You're Drunk." I feel like there was a sixth one, but and "Anything for You." So we wrote 6 of the 14 tracks in those 2 weeks. And then we came back to LA and just kept kind of hitting the ground running and trying to write more songs. And I think sometime around November, we felt like we had a lot of songs. Actually, I remember going to our manager's office and sitting down and having close to 30 songs that we were trying to decide, what's going on the album, what's not. So once we whittled it down to about 14 songs, and then we went straight into the studio, and we worked with 2 different producers, really 3 different producers. A guy named Tyler Johnson, who produced both Harry Styles albums, and then a guy named Chad Copeland, who's from Oklahoma, which is where I'm from, and has been, some sort of theme throughout Mama's Boy already. And then King Henry. Henry is one of my best friends in the world, and he was kind of the glue between the 2 producers. So he was in on every session, just making sure everything felt nice and cohesive and made sense. We made the album in 3 different studios: Conway, East West, and Barefoot. So that was something new for us too. We've never really traveled around, but because of availability, and also because of I think mainly because of availability. I was gonna say COVID, but no, that's not true. So it's basically, due to just availability, we moved around studios. And then we were, about 3/4 of the way done producing the album, and then we went straight into quarantine, and that was difficult and pretty inconvenient. So it took us longer to finish the album than we anticipated, but I guess that's fine because it's not like we had a tour that we need to rush and get on, So we were able to finish the album in quarantine, and now it's done. And we turned it in, I think, around a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and just been slowly, introducing people to the music.
Yeah, congratulations. 4 tracks out, and it sounds fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I have to mention, Malibu Nights took, as many of your fans, it also helped me through a lot of tough times. And now when you're listening to Mama's Boy, it's just it's so refreshing. It makes hearts swoon. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
We absolutely cannot wait for, October 2nd to come by anytime soon.
So nice. Thank you.
So it seems like in the 4 tracks that have been released so far, the band's taken a little bit more, maybe an acoustic or an anthemic tangent as compared to your previous albums. Okay. What inspired you to take this direction?
I think we just, we don't ever want to make the same album twice. I think that's a huge mistake that any band can make. I think the best part about growing up with the band and evolving with the band is watching the band evolve and progress and experiment and try new things. It sounds really almost laughable, but we've never used an acoustic guitar on a single LANY song. And that's like the most fundamental instrument. And so it felt really good. And there's something really familiar and homey about an acoustic guitar that kind of played into the mood and the theme of this album. But just objectively speaking, guitar adds a lot of energy to songs. And, you can only do so much with synthesizers, and there's only so much emotion you can evoke. And there's just nothing like an acoustic guitar. There's nothing like a slide guitar. We also have strings. We have gospel choir, kids choir, flugelhorn, a lot of like new elements on this album that we're really excited about.
Yes, I mean, like, when you have to like mention it that way, when you released You, it was so uplifting, and it had like a very anthemic vibe, a lot of guitars, choirs in the background. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
And do you have a personal favorite on this album?
I have like quite a few favorites on this album. I'm like I've mentioned before, I'm incredibly proud of it. I feel like I pushed myself as a songwriter because it was, it sounds, well, writing a heartbreak album is the easiest thing in the entire world to do because you just have so many raw emotions and so many thoughts and things that you need to process. And when I was very like vulnerable and transparent on that album, I realized that really paid off, and people really respected that and loved that and really kind of latched onto that. And I think I went even more vulnerable and even more transparent with this album, talking about where I'm from. I think there's quite a few songs that are incredibly vulnerable. And just, like I said, it's very self-reflective, the album, and I'm proud of it. So that was a long answer for, I'm very proud of Cowboy in LA, Heart Won't Let Me, Still Talk to Jesus. I think, God, I'm just like listing the track list. Paper was the first the first song that we wrote for this album. That really informed the direction of where I wanted to go with my songwriting. And then there's a song called Anything for You that is just a really, really sweet love song. It's one that we haven't written a sweet love song in a long time. I also think that we sound really effortless on that track. There's nothing that feels forced or contrived. It's just so effortless. So I'm just really proud of this album.
I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from when you were listing down all the tracks, because I'm sure that, with Malibu Nights as well, when everyone's like, what's your favorite song? You just end up listing everything on the album and you're like, it's so hard to choose, And it's definitely going to be the case with this album, considering that, again, you put your emotions on the plate, and this time, towards your hometown and where you've come from. Yeah. And that's absolutely beautiful. On that note, while this album pays ode to your hometown, Oklahoma, you've also mentioned that this band has done its absolute best in perfecting it as much as you can. What's perfect about this album, and to what extent have you achieved it?
Well, I think obviously nothing is perfect. No one is perfect, and nothing will ever be perfect. That's an impossible feat. I guess that was just like a hyperbole that I was using, but what I mean is when we put out our first album, I did not have that same feeling. It was really obvious to me that there were elements that were missing. There was a lot of room for improvement. Some of the songs weren't that great. I'm just being super honest, because we've grown a lot over the last 5 years. And when we were making the debut album, I knew that something was missing, but I didn't know what. I didn't know how to find it. And I didn't want to ever have that feeling ever again. So when we made Malibu Nights, you just know when something is done. You know when it's done, and you know when it's not done. And I think, that was the same feeling that we had with Mama's Boy. Like, there was a couple things that we thought were missing, and we wanted to perfect, and we wanted to reimagine, and we wanted to try something new. For instance, there's like 50 versions of this song called Sad. And we just finally got the album to a point where we're like, okay, it's done. So when I say it's perfect, I mean like it's done, and there's nothing else that we wanted to do on this album that we weren't able to do.
That's absolutely lovely to hear. And also, like, a lot of work has been gone in this album, considering that you had 30 tracks on plate before you had to select, and also 50 versions of a song. It must have been difficult and at the same time really exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
So far you've given fans, glimpses of what to expect from the album through 4 tracks, the latest being Cowboy in LA. Are we going to get anything more before the entire album drops, or is this it? Do we eagerly wait for 2nd of October?
Yeah, well, there's obviously going to be like one song that, feels like the focus track or whatever that will probably drop the day before the album comes out. But yeah, it was really difficult picking singles because everyone's got a different opinion on what should come first and what should be a single and what shouldn't. But I think the album is very diverse. I think it's full of flavor, and there's a lot of different flavors on the album, and I feel confident that there's at least one song on that album for absolutely everybody.
We absolutely can't wait to hear it. I mean, I keep mentioning it, but like the more you talk about it, it's like gets us more excited to like actually listen to it. I mean, talking about Cowboy in LA, there is this one lyric that's like kind of sparked conversations online, and its significance. That's it, that when you're with me, it's better than Malibu. What was running through your mind when you first penned it down?
I mean, so that's cool that people caught on to that. Obviously, like it was just a little nod to I've moved on and we're good and we're moving on to the next season and chapter. And the rhyme was there, and it just felt right. Malibu is such a dreamy place, and to tell somebody, I mean, a lot of people would argue that Malibu is like the most magical place, and a lot of people find it as like a benchmark for success and where they want to have a house one day. So to tell someone that when you're with me, it's better than what everyone else thinks is the best, that was cool.
And you've earlier mentioned that LANY is this one band where you want to continue evolving, right? So from Pink Skies to I Love You So Bad to Malibu Nights to now Cowboy in LA, how do you think LANY's artistry has evolved over the years?
I mean, I think we're definitely getting better. I think oftentimes I want to take down our old EPs because I'm kind of embarrassed by them. But at the same time, I think it really shows growth. And like if you go and listen to Like You Lots up against You could argue that that's not even the same band. And for the last few years, I've been so obsessed with trying to be the best band in the world or the biggest band in the world. But those metrics are impossible. But I do think you can be the most improved band in the world. And I would say that we definitely, without a doubt, are. I mean, if you listen to what we sounded like in 2015 to what we sound like now in 2020, it's almost unrecognizable. And I'm really proud of that. We've worked really hard. We've dug super deep. We've not grown complacent in whatever sort of success we've experienced. It's just we've stayed insatiable and we've stayed hungry. And I think we just keep getting better every single day.
And I think that definitely reflects in the way you're getting fans all across the world, from playing small stages to now arenas and having headlining shows. That's like, on the note of tours, you did mention that, you often mention that they're like Google spreadsheets that sort of list down your schedule for the next 1 year. This may be a little too soon to ask, but what next after Mama's Boy drops?
Well, I mean, we are trying to figure out tour dates for 2021, and I think we will announce a few soon. But the world is still in such like a unpredictable state. So while we can't tour, I think we go right back into the studio and start writing album 4 and just try to keep making really good music and keep feeding the fans and just keep this thing moving.
Yeah. And I mean, do you have maybe India listed somewhere in the Google spreadsheet?
Yeah, like we literally, cannot wait to go there. I think it's going to be amazing. I don't know how many people know that we even exist, but I'm fascinated by your country, and it's definitely on my bucket list to go and play a show there.
That's fantastic to hear. I can assure you there are a lot of fans here who are waiting for LANY over here. And I'm sure, they'll take you around to, look at if you're coming down to Mumbai, you can have some local cuisine, maybe groove on to some Bollywood music.
Yes, amazing.
So, we're really looking forward to seeing you here and perform. But on that note, as you mentioned that COVID's now playing such a big factor, especially for live shows. Have you ever thought of a lot of artists have gone forth and have started streaming online shows? Yeah. Have you thought of that as a possibility?
Definitely. We've had months of conversations, trying to figure out the logistics of all that. We want to do it in a really fresh and impressive way. I know that I don't think you've been to a LANY show, which is unfortunate because, but I'm sure you've seen them, and it's that energy and that production and the lights and that feeling in the room that really makes a LANY show. And so trying to replicate that without those elements is difficult, but we've got some cool ideas, and we're working really hard to try to materialize those.
Hopefully we'll see those ideas come to life soon. And yes, as you mentioned, it's really unfortunate for me to not attend any LANY shows so far. I go on YouTube and I go LANY live. I think there's this one performance from All Saints that I really love watching, which is on YouTube. So it's hopefully one day when I tour the States or when you come to Mumbai, that would be fantastic.
100%.
And finally, do you have any special message for your fans?
Yeah, of course, always. Hi, what's up, everybody in India? I don't know if there's one of you or two of you or 100 of you, but I can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to play shows for you. Can't wait for the world to heal up and get back to normal. But thank you in the meantime for listening to our music and showing us love and support. It actually really, really means the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. It was lovely chatting with you, and I wish you a very good evening ahead, and we absolutely can't wait for Mama's.
Yes, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.